Raise your fist to the air. Tunes Brothers everywhere. Rockin' loud, feel the sound. Tunes Brothers smashing ground. Whoa, rebels with guitars in hand. Raise your fist. Raise your fist.
Ay, tengo hambre. No puedo más. Dame comida.
Quesadilla, solo quiero una quesadilla. Calientita, dripping por la orilla.
Okay, welcome into Tunes Brothers, a special surprise idea I had after I was texted by a member of the Warning Army who will remain nameless and alerted me to a new song that was out for a movie. So I figured who better to have on other than me and Down Under than Donnie Music, Mr. Professional Musician, and one of the biggest Warning fans in JBake, Jason Baker. What's up, guys?
Hey.
I thought Louis only did self-promotion on this channel.
Speaking of Lou, that was a great song, wasn't it? It was really well received. And that was thanks to the Patreon Warning Army getting all butthurt that I dared say quesadilla instead of a song name I still don't know how to pronounce.
Me either.
So I ran with it. Anyway, speaking of Lou, he called me tonight and said that he will not be on Tuesday or probably at all next week because there was a contracting company out doing something on the porches or decks in his building and they cut the fucking cable.
Oh, crap.
So he's got nothing. He's got no means to the internet at all. And, you know, Louis don't have a cell phone, so he can't even, you know, chime in that way.
I just want to let you know it didn't cost me that much to get that arranged either. I can shut him up for a week. That's great.
Okay, so I will let you two gentlemen on the bottom give us the lowdown on what this new thing is that the Warnings have put there. Donnie, you did an amazing breakdown on it. Anybody who doesn't know Don Music's channel, it is Don-Music, right? At Yahoo or at Yahoo, Jesus, at YouTube.
How old are we?
Yeah. He does all kinds of amazing, intelligent stuff that is way over our heads here on the Moron Cast. But yes, JBake and Donnie Music, what's going on with the Warner?
JBake, you start.
He's
no, basically, you know, they're of course down. They're recording a new album. Everybody's kind of excited, and they're kind of chomping at the bit just to, you know, for anything, right? So then in the Patreon, they kind of put a teaser, which is nice, right? They've got a new song in a little snippet in part of a movie. You know, people, you know, me included, you know, kind of take our take on the song and what we thought. And then it kind of brought up the Keep Me Fed argument that has, well, the Keep Me Fed discussion that's been going on for the last year and a half, you know, with the change in sound and stuff. So it was pretty interesting. It's still pretty interesting. It's a big thread now. It's got like 200 comments on that thread, just over 20 seconds of audio. So one thing is for certain, that the Warning fan base is still very, very passionate about the Warning. And I think that's a great thing.
I was going to say, like, minutes after I finished watching Donnie's breakdown today, and I watched it real close to when it was up, there was already 516 views on it. So the Warning Army is still rabid.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, it's been the thing with the Warning, right, is that if you go to, I mean, you know how YouTube works. As soon as you start looking for something, searching for something, it'll just feed more of that to you over and over and over again, whatever your views or whatever your taste is. So I search for the Warning because I'm into the Warning, and I do reactions and analysis of the Warning. and so all I ever see is the warning. And you really, I mean, I click on reactors things for the warning. I watch a minute of it. I don't normally listen or pay attention. I like it. I want to support people doing stuff for the warning. There are a lot of really bad reactors out there. But there are a few people who I actually respect. Rob, yeah,
I'm
absolutely,
one
man.
of the bad reactors.
No, you're good, man, because you tell it like it is. Whether you're right or wrong, you tell it like it is, and that's what opinions are about, right? And that's awesome. But there's some just all those fakers like those screen grabs. Like,
Right.
this is the most amazing thing.
I
So, but anyway,
I won't even watch those reactors because clearly when the thumbnail is 85% their face and just a smidgen, and then when you watch it, it's all them with like a thumbnail, a literal human thumbnail size screen of the band. I'm like, are you selling yourself or the band here? All right.
yeah, you've seen mine, right? Like I am this little tiny thing in the corner because that's not about me. I'm just
Right.
trying to provide information. I'm more of a musician, so I'm trying to like break it down, talk about keys, just find what I find exciting, and if other people find it interesting, great. So I thought, because I didn't know about this, and you're the guy who told me, Rob. You emailed me like, I guess you've heard about this new song. I'm like, I thought you were talking about yours.
No.
Quesadilla. So I'm like, well, I'm going to do a reaction to that today, but I haven't done it yet because then I was like, oh crap, there's something else. And I watched it and I was like, okay, this is different, but it suits this movie clip. It's a hilariously fun family movie clip. It's a hilariously fun family little song dance thing. Kind of sounds like it could be maybe the warning doing this as session players, kind of, that's what I figured. And so I ripped it and I ran it, and check out my channel, guys. You can hear at about the 10-minute mark. There's like that whole 15 seconds or 14 seconds of actual music.
And I will ask you to break that down further real quick. I want to get this in. JR dot double triple 07, James Bond's son. New subscriber or member, you might want to reserve that choice until you finished listening to my stupid ass. Before I get into it, and I will get into everything that Donnie Boy broke down, because there's a lot I want to ask him as he is a professional at this. Did you get a chance to listen to it at all, Dave?
Yes, I did. I checked Instagram out, and obviously I saw the movie, and I thought, oh, it's that movie, which I was going to watch last night, but it had such shitty ratings that I thought,
oh, the movie's out?
bother.
No, I didn't know
it's
that.
on Netflix, I think.
Real quick, Dave. JR apparently is not kidding around. He's excited because his Toons Brothers shirt was delivered today and says it's really nice. So awesome. Thank you. That is tremendous. One day I'll get myself one. Okay, go ahead, Dave.
Did we have two people have got one now, have they?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. I must admit, when I first heard the snippet, I couldn't tell it was the warning. So I think that's a fair indication. I mean, to me, it just sounds like, what I'd call generic music of the day. It's probably going to appeal to a large audience, I'm sure, not to us old fogies, but hopefully this is just written for this movie, or, maybe a throwaway they had from Keep Me Fed or something that fits the theme. But hopefully this isn't the direction, because it would be very disappointing.
Tommy King is checking, listening to the Wizards. What the hell? Was that basketball? I don't know. Maybe he means you guys on the bottom, the Wizards.
Sorry, this comment is awesome.
Okay. This is the Trinity of the Warning Army and Rob.
That was clever.
Okay, anything you wanted to throw in real quick, JBake? Because I got a million things I want to get into, and I'll just start rattling them off.
No, let's just get it started. I'm excited to hear your take, and honestly, a little scared, if I'm being honest.
Okay. Well, in the spirit of your fear, let me just full disclosure out there. The three gentlemen on the screen with me do not necessarily support or agree with anything that I will say on this podcast. So they are innocent victims in what may be a massacre. I don't know. So first things first, I didn't realize this was the warning either. When JBake sent this to me and I listened to it, of course, it was on my phone and I was in a van for work, road noise, all that. So I could barely really hear anything, but it didn't sound like the warning. And then I listened to it again when I got home. And honestly, this is going to go to you, Don, because of your breakdown. You deducted it was Danny singing, who I could hear in the chorus. But the verse to me doesn't sound like any of them. But if I would have had a gun to my head saying, who is it? I'd have thought it was Pow.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, I was reacting as I was making the video. I had not listened to it. I ripped it. I didn't listen to the rip. I had the multi-track version of it I made until I threw it into Reaper, my DAW. Quickly did some quick level editing. Tried to get rid of, all I was caring about was being an engineer, which is another thing I want to talk about at some point in my either here or somewhere else, is just like people like Anton DeLost, the producer for Keep Me Fed and of this, and what engineering actually means.
He should be kept out of anything, to be fair.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the thing, right? Like I would like to watch him work. I think he's a really talented guy who has some really cool ideas, and some of his stuff sounds really neat. I like some of the sounds he gets. Well, no, I mean, like the bass tone on the album sounds really cool. The drums, the toms sound great. It's the overall mix that's just missing stuff. The more stuff he puts in, the thinner it gets, and that's engineering skills. And I question his actual knowledge and skills. But I mean, he's doing better than I am. He's mixing the warning, and I'm mixing freaking my buddies. But
real quick pause, just so I get this in. JR says he's actually been listening since Victory Cast, just likes to stay quiet. I like to stay quiet as well. But thank you for sticking with me for probably close to 3 years now, even though I have nothing to offer. Okay, back to the musician in the bunch.
Yeah, and I mean I started as soon as you launched Victory Cast, I was a fan of yours, man. Then I wasn't. Then I was again.
You were a viewer of mine, not a fan. I don't have fans.
Well, fair enough. I enjoy your entertainment value.
There you go.
But yeah,
better for worse.
So I listened to the song. I listened to the multi tracks, and it sounded pretty much the same. As I said, I put on some filters. I did some stuff to remove the crap from the movie out of it. Brought up the level on the quiet parts. They faded out the song so you could hear the dialogue on one part. And I took off the stupid explosions, stupid effects at the end, right? So now I can hear the song. Then I soloed the drums. It's like, right? And there's some cool tom work in the middle, but it literally could be anybody. You mentioned, Rob, that you thought
that's where I wanted to go with it, as long as you brought it up.
Yep.
Because to me, you said you were a little disappointed with the drums. And
I'm polite, man. I'm Canadian.
Yeah, and to me, it sounded like a drum machine, which I commented on there, and you said, well, that shows that she's got laser precision. That's fine, but do we know it wasn't a drum machine? I mean, what was the extent of their involvement on this? Because to me, if it sounds like a drum machine, there's a Kiss album, help me out, Dave, that gets flack for the drum machine on. Is it Hot in the Shade?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, nobody wants to hear that robotic crap. They want to hear a real drum kit.
Yeah,
and if you go back to listen to Error, and especially 21st Century Blood, it sounds like a raw garage band, which was awesome. It literally, when you played the isolated track for the drums, it just sounded like someone hit play on a drum machine.
Yeah, I mean, it's lo-fi because it's machine learning, ripping and stuff like this, but still, yeah, it's funny. Because I love 21st Century Blood. I love Queen of the Murder Scene. I'm okay. I love a lot of Error. But I really like Keep Me Fed as far as the songs go.
Did you just say but when it came to Error?
I did. I heard that.
Yeah, because I know it's your favorite album, but the reason being, they're amazing producer. So they had different producers. I don't know if the first two albums had the same producer, Jake, what's his name? I know the second album, Queen of the Murder Scene, had Jake someone or other, I think. And anyway, the first two albums, they were them and they sounded fantastic. In Error, they were them, they sounded fantastic, but we know that the producer of Error worked really, really hard. And he was this huge name guy, super experienced. I've talked to him personally about this. I actually trashed his publicly on my YouTube channel. I trashed his choices about Alejandro's basses. And he actually sent me a personal email letter.
Nice.
Yeah. So yeah, he was politely defending himself, which was just kind of funny because I'm like nobody and he's one of the biggest producers in the world. But yeah, they've all been open about the fact that he retaught them how to play together, especially Ale and Pau, for timing. He tested them all in the studio, find out who had the best time playing to a track, playing to a click, and playing without a click, and seeing who ended up at the beginning and the end at the same time. Accuracy, consistency, volume levels, and Ale won, which doesn't surprise me. She's a perfectionist. She's Alejandra. She's also probably the most technically gifted musician of the three. Like she has perfect pitch, perfect rhythm, everything. Doesn't mean she's the most creative or the best performer or any of that. Just saying, like, just those raw gifts that she has, it's easier for her maybe. But Pau is a drummer, which is a much more mechanical thing to do, much more physical. It's hard to be really, really perfect. But anyway, Pau was pissed because Ale won. And so Pau had to relearn how to play on time. And they've been really open about that. She talked about that in her big Spanish drum lecture she did at a university. She went on for like 10 minutes about how Alejandra is way better at rhythm than she is. And so it's funny how when they did that, they relearned how to play together. And I kind of feel a little bit, starting with Error, they started to lose a little bit of the feel that they had on the first two albums.
Okay.
That natural feel that was so amazing and raw in 21st Century Blood, especially when she was a manic Muppet drummer and still existed in the murder scene. Yeah, it was awesome, right? And
Yeah.
I know she had to change her technique for health reasons of this, but whatever. It was still great on Error. There's still amazing stuff on Error, but it's less spontaneous and less magical to me, even though they're great songs. It's an amazing sounding album. And then KMF.
Can I ask a question though on that, Don?
Yeah.
Do you think that part of that was, and nothing against, and I put the Jake Carmona mixed 21st Century Blood, but the producers are listed as Luis and blah, blah, blah. Queen of Mercy had a couple of different producers. I put those in the chat. My question to you is, because I'm not an engineer, is do you think the reason why you feel that way is because we stepped up from kind of just a recording session, right? You go in, you pay, you record, they give you the tape, blah, blah, blah. And it was really kind of all on them, to moving up to a next level, upper echelon type professional producer that had a lot of time with them too, right? It was COVID.
Yes.
And so they were really working out, and they were in the bubble. Do you think that professional producer was trying to maybe, in his mind, correct bad habits or whatever he might have interpreted, and that's why it doesn't feel so spontaneous?
Oh, absolutely. And I'm glad he did it. They always love and they need musical education. They crave that stuff, and they needed to improve always. They should. And
Real quick, David Bendeth is that the guy you were thinking of?
David Bendeth, who
thank you, Josh McAben.
Yeah, David Bendeth may not love me very much, but yeah, and he actually told me also personally that because I talked to him about the vocal tracking on the album and how they did things, and how amazing Danny's vocals and Pau's vocals sound on that album on Error, and how after that with Keep Me Fed, without any judgment of the producer or mixer or any, just if the choices made, you can hear there's a lot of the effects done on the vocals, right? For whatever reason. I don't think they ever use traditional pitch correction in the studio. If there's someone who misses something, you can fix it and it can be subtle. You won't even notice it. I do this all the time for people, but I don't think they do that. But he said that they didn't do any of that for Error. It was just, they had the time and the luxury of doing take after take after take a couple days off, refresh, go have some food, come back, be strong, try a different way of singing it, so that's why Error is so good, right? And I love that. It's an incredible album. Keep Me Fed isn't as good because of the production techniques and the mixing in some ways, but I still love it.
They almost washed the Warning sound out of that album.
Yeah.
Obviously they're talented enough, and some of the songs like Hell You Call a Dream, Automatic Sun, More, and Consumed were so good that the production couldn't hold it back. But I think over half of that album could have been much better, at least to people like me.
Yeah.
And maybe like Russ in Canada saying older Warning Army fans are bugged that the new Warning music sounds like the music Danny Powell and Allie listened to instead of the music we grew up with. And there's definitely some validity to that. I just think that modern technology isn't always a good thing. And that's kind of first I want to get everybody's quick brief take. Dave, what did you think of what you heard? Obviously we can't judge an entire song. I'm not asking you about is this good for the direction, just the song itself from what you heard.
Yeah, like I said, to me it didn't sound like the Warning, it does sound like a different direction. That being said, like I said, we're old codgers, so we're not going to be around forever. So, maybe they do need to get a bigger audience, and that might mean they have to do change
And
that.
money.
But yeah, well, exactly, because that's what it's all about at the end of the day. But
Believe me, I'm going
yeah,
there.
we just crave for that old sound because that's the sound we love. But I'm hoping, I'm not confident, but I'm hoping that they give us a little bit of that old school stuff. But time will tell.
All right. Mr. JBake, one of the most loyal and most massive Warning fans that I have ever had the great pleasure of meeting online and in person. By the way, still one of my favorite days in the recent decades of my life, just hanging out outside that venue, the camaraderie with the Warning fans. It was fucking amazing. Your take on this song Snippet?
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, when I first listened to it, same thing as everybody else, right? And it's kind of, I think why it engaged me and I made a comment that kind of keep me fed into it was it took me a couple of listens to that little 20-second snippet to actually figure out it was the Warning, right? They have such a distinctive sound, and they have such, Daniela in particular has such a distinctive voice that I once again had to re-listen to this. Now, granted, it's 14 seconds and I'm a imbecile, so that's not surprising. But that's what my takeaway is from this new type of thing. It's not that it's bad. We'll get into the producing of all of this stuff later, I'm sure. But it's that on first listen, I'm not blown away. Like it takes me a minute to comprehend it or digest it, and I think that's kind of an uncomfortable feeling. And I got the same from this 20-second snippet. It was an okay song for a movie, but as a big Warning fan, I'm happy for them. I'm thrilled for them that they're getting what's it called in the industry? Is it sync licensing that they call it when you get your songs into a movie or a commercial? I'm super pumped for that. I don't care. They could be singing an ABC song, right? I want that success for them. If I would have heard this song, I just kind of wish it wasn't the Warning singing it, right? But that's just a 20-second take, right? We have to be realistic in what we're saying.
Okay. Now, before I give my take, I want to run through some comments real quick here. Kind of like pop punk, but maybe that's what the movie people wanted. We got, they famously said they live to learn something new every day. Change is inevitable. To an extent, but not always to the positive side of a band's or artist's career is my opinion on that. I tend to agree with Craig here more. It was good while it lasted, because I am not judging the next album on this snippet. I am, however, watching the massive and listening to the massive change in sound from Error to Keep Me Fed. And it's no secret I'm not impressed. And when you're keeping the same producer, that's not a recipe for change. Now, I will say, when I heard this, I thought I was listening to something on Nickelodeon. This is terrible. Here you go, Patreon members. You're going to get what you came for now. This was horrible. Whoever the lead singer was, whether it was Power Danny, I honestly can't tell the difference because it didn't sound like either one of them. It sounded like some 16-year-old Nickelodeon Britney Spears wannabe up and coming. It was stupid. The chorus was beyond brutal when they raised their voices up. It's cheesy. It's laughable. It's clearly for children. I hope and pray this is not on their album and they did this specifically by direction to suit this movie. That being said, the old adage, any publicity is good publicity, I don't subscribe to, because in the music industry, it can kill your credibility. It's just that simple. Now, legendary bands have went off their path and tried different directions. But notice I said the term legendary bands. These bands did not do that before they were legendary acts and risked suicide on their career. No matter what the Patreon Warning Army crowd wants to think, the Warning is not a household name. They are not a legendary act. They cannot go and sell out a 50,000 seat stadium on their own name. They can ill afford, in my opinion, to be playing, let's flip the quarter or roll the dice on what our style is going to be today. They had a formula that was working. Now, this may gain them, and we've had this conversation, this may gain them a handful of little Gen Z, listeners for a week, for a month. But we all know Gen Z has the attention span of a gnat when it comes to fashion, music, what kind of cars they like, you name it. They've got zero passion, zero loyalty, or zero drive to become a serious long-term fan. It has been my take forever that if that is what they're trying to do, and God bless them if they're trying to gain more fans, I get it. That's what you're supposed to do. But they're trying to gain the wrong fans, in my opinion. And to me, if you're going to go down a road in any service or product you put out in life, you should be going where the money is and where the loyalty is. That's not Gen Z on either one of those counts. So to me, the Warning needs to ask themselves a question. Yes, it's important to become more popular and a bigger name. Yes, it's important to pad their bank accounts. I get all that. I don't ever fault anybody. Everybody always dogs kiss about it. It's all for the money. It's all for the money. Anybody who's deemed a professional anything, it's for the money. It's actually in the definition of being a professional, right? You get paid. This prevents them from having to say, do you want fries with that? Or, working behind a retail counter somewhere. So it's important to be successful. But at the end of the day, you need to look at longevity, not at what's hip and here now. Kiss did that. They made that mistake over and over through the 80s, early 80s, late 70s, starting with Dynasty, Unmasked, The Elder. The difference is Kiss was already the biggest band on the planet. They had nothing to lose, right? They could take a beating and take the criticism and lose fans and still be a mega act. It didn't really affect them at all in the grand scheme of things. The Warning is nowhere near having that luxury. So they need to ask themselves, do we want to be a rock band or do we want to be a fad band? Because their only chance, in my opinion, at a long-lasting difference-making career when it's all said and done and they're old ladies and retiring like Kiss just did, their only chance of being noteworthy in rock history is remaining a rock band. If they start saying, I want to be Ariana Grande this week, and then I want to be Taylor Swift this week, and chase whatever fads out there year to year, their career is going to be nothing more than a footnote. That's just my opinion.
Yeah.
So with that, I want to ask about something else, because somebody asked about, was on my last After Dark, and I had no idea this had happened. And they had said, what do you think about the girls being Women of the Year in Glamour magazine? And to which I replied, good on them. I mean, to that extent, if they're going to get their name out there, great. And I don't know where the warnings take on this is, or if they've even brought it up. But I know from the history of the music artists I've listened to, whether it was Lita Ford, whether it was Joan Jett, you name them, they've all come out whining since about how hard it was to be taken seriously as a female in a hard rock band. Now, this may get a handful of people to recognize them that would have never recognized them before. But being on Glamour magazine, in my opinion, I'm not saying it will, it could hurt their credibility as musicians, because when I first got into the Warning as a reactor, I had two camps because I was doing Liliac, I was doing some of these bandmaids and some of these, and every one of these other fan bases would come on comments and blast the Warning for being pathetic musicians, only big because of their pretty faces. Danny can't play a guitar solo. I mean, we've heard it all. So is this going to help or hurt them long run being taken seriously as a rock band? You couple being posers on a Glamour magazine with putting out a pop album and now a flat out Disney-esque song, whether it's just for the movie or not. Do any of you see any of this working against them in the grand scheme of things? Dave, we'll start with you. You're muted, Dave.
I haven't really looked into that whole Woman of the Year, whatever they got, so I don't really know much about that.
Well, I just saw the cover, and I would like to also ask, when has glamour been redefined? Because imagine seeing if there was a black tie magazine, right, for a black tie affair, and all that meant was the guy was wearing a black tie with overalls, right? This Glamour magazine, which has always had glitzy, beautiful outfits and stuff, here the Warning are in Tennessee tuxedos, and what I mean by that, denim head to toe. Powell probably wearing the world's baggiest bell bottoms to ever be issued to a human being on planet Earth. They are the furthest from looking glamorous on this. So that was just a footnote for me. When the hell did they change the definition of glamour? But anyway, go ahead, dude.
Yeah, like I said, what was the award they won?
It just says Women of the Year. I didn't read it. I just saw the cover and I'm like, okay, I don't care.
Right. So I'm just wondering, was it for glamorous or?
I mean, this doesn't really matter. It doesn't take anything away. They won the Glamour Women of the Year, the Sisterhood Award. So I think that's actually a really good thing going on what you're talking about. Like there's subcategories or whatever. I'll talk on that, David, but that's what it was. It was the Glamour Magazine Sisterhood Award for Women of the Year. I'm just giving you a little more information.
And it was presented by their mother. Like she made a speech in Spanish and presented it to them, which was just a really cool bonding thing to see.
And that's fine. I'm not saying it's bad or good. I'm just saying that's kind of, I don't see that. I'm not saying it's gonna happen. I'm saying from a female having a tough time being taken seriously in a rock band over history, to them just saying, okay, we're just pretty faces on a magazine, that could bite them in the ass, I think. I mean, they already got fans of other bands, female bands, who actually despise the Warning because they're so pretty and don't take them seriously as a band.
And that'll always happen, though.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying it. It's to me, it wasn't a good timing. Maybe coming off of the controversy they already had split in their camp.
Maybe, I think because it's it's a Latin American version of the magazine. I think the world works a little differently there. I wouldn't begin to guess how it works there compared to here, but I don't think maybe there's the same stigma there that there is here. They get a different kind of stigma. They get the language stigma, right? Because they sing in English, that whole crap. Yeah. But I don't know. You could be right. I don't know.
Okay. Well, it was kind of a nothing burger question, but I just thought I'd throw that out there because someone did bring it up to me. And I really don't care about magazines. I don't care about clout. I don't care about Rock and Roll Hall of Fames and all this, stuffy, judgmental, awardy type shit. But they got on there, so they got on there. The other thing I was going to say when it comes to that is, shit, no, I lost my train of thought. Oh, this halftime show. Everybody keeps bringing up this halftime show for the Cardinals game. And I don't know if it's this weekend or not. Do we know what they're playing?
Nope. I don't think it'll be broadcast.
They get like 10 minutes. Is that what you heard, Dave?
Yeah, I mean, those halftime shows are never really long anyway, are they? So it'll be.
I don't think it'll go on TV, right? Like I think maybe Rudy will present it in Patreon.
They'll show 8 seconds when they're coming back from a commercial or something. Maybe. I mean, this is an NFL game. This isn't, the Super Bowl. I think. I don't know. Dave, I didn't mean to cut you off on that. So if you were expounding on the glamour question, I'm sorry.
Because to be honest, Rob said he lost his train of thought, and I was thinking after you said something, I thought, what was the question again?
Well, my take on that, and I'll kind of play a little bit of devil's advocate here, just food for thought, is one, I think it's a good thing that's the Sisterhood Award because it kind of keeps them all together. That they are kind of family first. They have been for years. It's one of the things that people were drawn to, and it kind of plays into that narrative. Mm-hmm. I think it's good that it's the Latin American version. I think it keeps. They've really seemed to be focused on changing their narrative in the past 18 months, and I think they're really getting more back in step with their heritage, with their country, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, right? The Auditorio Nacional concert, they talk about it being a love letter to their country and all this. I'm not against it. My food for thought is, when we were growing up and we had Lita Ford and all this other shit, we had similar situations, right? We had posters at Spencer's of these rock stars and these women. We had, posters of the models. So I think this is just maybe the new way of them getting that message out. And I think it will kind of engage people. It's all about how they follow it up. Right. For years, we looked at them as small, young girls. And what blew us all away was they delivered a powerful sound, particularly live. And that was the shock value, right? They were women. They were female. They were, young girls. But they blew your face off when you listened to them, and they were humble. So if they take this opportunity and don't get away from the rock, right? If they don't put all their eggs in the glamour photo shoot post up basket, I think they can make it a win. That's just
but there's an argument to be made that with the release of Keep Me Fed, they already got away from the rock.
I agree, and I know we'll talk probably more about the and the Keep Me Fed stuff and what to expect on the new thing. I think you're exactly right. I'm not really panicking on the stuff. I think they're getting their word out. And right now they're down, right? They're recording. They've been kind of out of pocket. Their social numbers are kind of dropping because they haven't released anything new. They're going to get a big influx when they get that album done, and they're going to start releasing these tracks from Auditorio Nacional. They'll release that movie. The reactor spin will pick back up, right? Because they've got new live stuff to react to. That's going to give Keep Me Fed a little bit of a push, and then they're going to be out, right? And we can talk too. I think it's kind of interesting how they're choosing to do their first half of the year so far on what they've announced. I think it's an interesting concept, and I can bring that up later. But that's my take on the glamour stuff. I think it's all on how they handle it. This is a step one, but you got to bring the rock, man. That's the important thing, in my opinion.
Well, you two are getting a taste here of why my name is Mud in the Warning Army. I've left this comment up on the screen because I didn't want to cut JBake out, but I want to get to it. I'm bilingual and a woman, and I do like the song in the movie from The Warning. It's pop punk, and it suits the movie perfectly. Everybody needs to relax and not put them in a box. At what point in time did myself or anybody else on this panel put The Warning in a box? I prefaced this entire thing by saying I'm not judging them or the direction of the new album based on this snippet. So, speaking of being in a box, you need to start looking outside the box because nobody is saying that this is going to be anything that's going to represent the next album. I'll speak for myself and say, God, I hope not. But nobody is saying that at all. The other thing is, do you guys, Jesus, I lose track because of all these comments. I'm sorry. You brought up humble, JBake, I think, as long as first of all, my comment on the allegiance to their country, that's great, but that's not the interest of their career. If I'm their manager, that's the last thing I'm worried about is small little Mexico, who is basically contributing nothing in sales or the overall grand scheme of things. I'm worried about the United States. I'm worried about Europe. I'm worried about Asia before I'm worried about Mexico. Your little country is going to love you no matter what, as long as the cartels let you. That to me is ill-focused energy. They don't need to be sucking up to their home country, because their home country is going to get them nothing at the end of the day but a little, pat on the back, say attaboy for representing Mexico. That's not going to do nothing for their career. Their biggest mistake was worrying too much about Europe instead of the United States on this last go round. They need to start figuring out how they can start selling out arenas, not stadiums, arenas, on a 150 tour date in the United States if they want to become a big player. Look at Taylor Swift, look at Katy Perry, look at some of these legendary acts that they're wanting that success and that name recognition. These people did not waste their time overseas. They are mega stars in the United States. And at the end of the day, ask the Beatles, ask Elvis, ask the Rolling Stones, ask Black Sabbath, ask anybody. That's where your legacy's made. And to me, they've almost kind of alienated the United States over the last couple of years. And which leads me to my next question. You're in the business, Don. JBake, you're very familiar with the inner workings of the band. What does it mean when someone tells me the record label took them off of the major label and put them on the Latin label? Have they given up on the United States? Are they saying they're not going to push them here anymore?
Have they done? Has someone said that?
Yes, that was told to me.
I've heard the same thing too. I've heard that UMG, the artist group, is perhaps putting them in the UMG Latin family as opposed to the UMG. Who knows? It's all conjecture shit. Not my circus, not my monkey. I don't know if that's true. I really honestly don't think it's going to matter. I don't know what label they're at. The Warning seems to do so much self-promotion. They're good at it. I really haven't seen a lot of improvements since Lava took them over and UMG,
Agreed.
other than copyright strikes. So that's just my personal take as just a dumbass fan sitting 1,000 miles away and not having any idea what's going on. I really don't think it's going to matter. I mean, the Warning is a Warning, man. They're going to do Warning things, hopefully. That's my take on it.
Self-promotion, though. How is self-promotion going to get you on radio stations? How is self-promotion going to get you in popular venues? How is self-promotion going to get you on the bill with bands that will help you fill seats? Because the people they're touring with are less known than they are.
But bigger.
Again, the Warning is almost, I'm not saying the girls. I'm saying their camp, whoever's responsible, the parents, the manager, Rudy, whoever's responsible, at least when it comes to this country, they seem to think the Warning is bigger than they are. You don't put a band like the Warning out who's got 5 albums or 4 albums, has been around for almost a decade, has already been viral on something as massive and international as YouTube, and have them playing and barely selling enough tickets at a 1,300 seat venue with a band no one's heard of opening up. That is not good promotion.
Yeah. So, I mean, I understand exactly what you're saying. I agree with that to a large extent.
And believe me, I enjoyed the opening act. What were they called? Warp Drive or High
Yeah.
Speed or something like that, whatever it was.
Yeah, hyperactive. I don't
But
know.
again, what was there?
Speed of
Five,
Light.
Speed of Light. Yeah. So what was there? 5 people who bought tickets to see Speed of Light? The whole point of supporting acts is to draw extra asses in the seat to help get you seen and help boost your income. To me, if the Warning has been relying on self-promotion, they've been doing a terrible job of it. Other than on the internet, where they're masters of it, but the internet clicks do not pay the bills.
No,
I don't care who you are.
They did. So their first 2 albums were funded mostly by wealthy fans. Let's just be bluntly honest. And
hold on. I don't want to interrupt you here. Alejandro, Mexico is bigger than you think. Be more respectful, please. Stop saying cartels and that shit if you don't know. Have you watched the news? Do you realize your entire government is on the take by the cartels? Do you realize what we're doing in international waters to your cartels because your government can't and won't? Don't come on my American podcast and try to belittle my country by selling this ideology garbage that Mexico is this great country. You are run by criminal cartels that traffic humans and drugs to every country on the planet, and your government can't control it. So if you don't want the truth, then I suggest you go somewhere else. Mexico is what it is. It is a terrorist-run, cartel-run country with beautiful beaches. All right, go ahead, Dom.
I've never been there. I'll take your word for it. I don't get out of Canada much. Hawaii, that's about it. New York, California, just because family or whatever. But yeah, so the first 2 albums I think were mostly fan funded. First 3, if you include their EP, the first EP, right? There were big pushes and big investments made by their fan base, and that's incredible. But it's not like a long-term support plan. So I mean, I know you're exactly right, and I completely agree with you, Rob, about the distribution of funding. Now, what they did get out of Lava very clearly is touring and the ability to choose big producers and studios without having to pay for it themselves and fan fund it. And it worked. Error was amazing, and they got their dream producer and their dream studio and their dream time because of COVID and everything. But the money was there to pay for it, and they toured like freaking crazy. It's too bad that COVID happened, because they're actually going to tour Queen of the Murder Scene as their first U.S. and international touring, which would have been kick-ass. But anyway, so they toured Air, and they got the opportunities to play in big places because that they had the budget. But I don't know how much you guys have looked at some of their first American tour dates, the videos. There's videos of them playing, 300, 400 seat venues in the States, and nobody showed up except for maybe like 4 super fans. And Danny just takes your wireless guitar and goes out in the crowd and hangs out and starts jamming with people in the middle of their show and stuff. Lava got them a tour, but they didn't market them. They didn't sell the seats. They didn't tell the US about the company, in my opinion, about the brand. And that keeps happening. And they've always had great success in Europe, regardless of label or not. And so they're not monopoly. They're taking advantage of that constantly, which is great. But I am tragically disappointed in their success in the States. And I do personally think that Lava Records is not succeeding in their job, which is in the States still, at least for our age group, it's radio play or pushing it on rock media streaming. There are ways to get in there, just like they used to do. Stations used to be on the take, right? Radio stations used to be on the take. Yep. I know that's terrible, and they don't do that anymore. But there are still things like that go on, right?
Yeah, to be fair, they don't do that anymore because they don't have that power. Nobody cares about radio anymore, other than advertisers.
No, but most of the radio stations, at least where I live here, most of the radio stations are owned by the same freaking Chorus America.
Yeah,
company.
Same here. We got iHeart and one other that pretty much run them all. You'll hear the same songs literally like a minute apart on two completely different genre stations.
Yeah, you can flip it through and just hear the Back in Black 5 times in a row, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Let me put an end to the politics here because I like to put military people in their place because they seem to think their shit don't stink. I serve my country. So what should I do? Lick your boots? Can I have your autograph? I don't give a fuck who you served or why you served or where you served. You call me a clown because the U.S. is also corrupted. When did I say the United States wasn't corrupt? I got news for you idiots. Every government on this fucking planet is corrupt. The difference is we don't have criminal cartels mowing people down in our fucking country. All right. So until you get a grip on that and tourists can come there without being hijacked, taken to the ATM on a daily basis till you've completely depleted an account and then get murdered after you're raped by 16 people first, then you can talk to me. I don't care. You can love your country. I have nothing against Mexican people. I don't have anything about Canadian people. I don't have anything against Australian people. I don't have anything or Russian people. But don't try to sugarcoat like Mexico isn't one of the most horrific places for crime on the planet. So another guy telling me to get off my soapbox, my channel, my box, go fuck yourself. All right. None of you, and that went mega real fast. At what point in time, that's what's wrong with the United States. You want to know what's wrong with the United States? Why do you have to be mega to love your country? Huh? Why do you got to be a Republican to love your country? Isn't that more of an indictment on what it means to be a Democrat then? If you're a Democrat calling me mega for defending my country, then you basically are saying you hate your country, right? And to all you liberals that hate your country, get the fuck out. All right. Now,
Come to Canada.
Don't come here.
JBake on self-promotion, good or bad idea?
Boy, and just kind of one of the interesting things for me as a fan of The Warning, and it's probably just me, is I like observing kind of how they've done it. It was one thing that inspired me to kind of get behind this band because they were kind of grassroots level, doing a ton on their own. And they were successful as an independent band, right? They use their media, they use their social influence, they use their personalities to connect with their audience and build so much allegiance to them. And then they all kind of work together, kind of in synergy to get those first two albums out. And it was kind of poetic in a way. And then when you meet them, they were humble and they were just wide open kids, right? They've been working now for 13 years. How much do you change between the age of 12 and 22, right? A shit ton. So they're going through a lot of these changes that I think it's all kind of coming to a head. And I'm kind of with Don a little bit. I'm kind of thinking that, we of course don't see the behind the scenes and the money that Lava's throwing in to the process. For getting albums recorded and things, that's going to be expensive. I don't know what their touring looks like. But the simple fact is, in the really 4 or 5 years, aside from these big shows like Auditorio Nacional and some of these other big accomplished shows, which were successes and triumphs and amazing, I went to them, they're great. They're still kind of seemingly running on the same 1,200 to 1,000 to 1,400 seat clubs.
Yep.
On Keep Me Fed, what hit me in the States was that some shows were taking a long time to sell out. Like the show we were at in Twin Cities, I don't think sold out until that day. Still a success, but it's kind of like they're hitting themselves on the ceiling, and I think they don't know where to go. And I think they're seeing it as kind of Rockstead, and maybe the fan base needs to grow. And this kind of, there's like an internal struggle of how do we take it to the next level? And I think that's kind of what's splitting people's opinion on how to handle it. I don't think anybody really knows. And that's why I'm saying, who knows? But
I mean, say what you want. They were successful as a rock band.
Yeah,
absolutely. Absolutely.
And I
maybe
know
that's their lot in life, right? maybe
Well,
we have
and
to
there's
accept that
nothing
you're
wrong
wrong.
with that. I mean, there are
Right.
very few people anymore who are going to be Metallica or Aerosmith or Kiss or AC/DC. I mean, the passion for music in general, let alone rock music, doesn't seem to be to that level nowadays. But I guess I know Sick did the best that they've charted. Yeah, and probably that album, but do you really think, Dave, I'll ask you, let's say this is not just for movie, which I'm sure it is, but what if this is just like keep me fed on steroids, even more pop, even more produced, even more effects? Do you think this grows them, or does this maybe just show them? Because it's my opinion that the bulk of their fans and their sales and their, whether it's tickets or albums or merch, basically buttering their bread, are not into Keep Me Fed or that direction. Do you think it helps them gain enough fans to maintain and grow, or does it end up costing them their fan base that made them?
Well, I think you run that risk because I'm hoping that the next album is at least only like Keep Me Fed and not further on. Like, we come to that point and then we leave it there, which gives us more scope to go back. Maybe short term, because you're going to pick up those, as you said, the Gen Zers that will listen to something for a year or two and then, give up because the next big thing comes along and we'll get into that. And by that time, we probably go, well, we're not interested anymore. We will find someone else that can, tickle or scratch that itch we've got for good rock music. But yeah, I think they're sort of sitting at the edge of that cliff at the moment, and I think they either turn around and come back or they fall off, and then unfortunately, I said us as more serious music listeners will just give up.
Right. And here's my point to that, and I tend to agree with that. If they fall off, it's not my opinion that they're big enough or even have a big enough original fan base to say, oh, we fucked up. We'll go back to our roots and have everybody come back. Kiss could afford to do that. Some of these bands could afford to do that. And to
I was just going to say though, let's be honest though, even with Kiss, Creatures of the Night was one of their best albums, but commercially it was
absolute failure.
Crap because people had given up.
Absolutely.
What did
the
Elder
hardcore fans
do
went, "I'll
for
be done."
Kiss? Like, did that take away a lot of? Did that kind of splinter the Kiss army a little bit?
What was that, JBake?
What did the Elder, when they released the Elder? Right,
the Elder could have been blamed if not for the fact that they had already pissed off their fan base with 2 consecutive albums before that. They came out with "I Was
one of
Made
those
for Love."
things. It's one of those things though, because Dynasty worldwide was a huge hit, obviously.
It was, but in the United States, it was considered a disaster, and it got labeled as a disco album only because "I Was Made for Loving You," which I still don't think was truly a disco song.
It had a certain bass tone to it that made it sound like.
However, while that fan base dropped off, the difference between Kiss and The Warning, "I Was Made for Loving You" was fucking enormous internationally. Sick was not. All right. Kiss could afford to piss off some people who wanted metal because what they were gaining was almost outnumbering the actual Kiss army. So there's an argument to be had, as much as Scotty on this show who hates that song. That song basically catapulted them back into mega stardom. It's following it up with Unmasked, which was extremely poppy, extremely tinny production, a lot of keyboards. That's when most of the fans checked out. They started wearing these big fluorescent costumes instead of the black and the silver. All of a sudden, their fan base, The Warning complains about us old men. Their fan base was 5 and 6 year olds, and that was not what Kiss was about. Then they put the Elder out, and pretty much it went ignored. I don't think the Elder hurt them at all because nobody even cared about Kiss at that time.
Well,
No,
can I
definitely
pose
the wrong album, but
question to your question for you guys? Has there ever been a band aside from like Taylor Swift, right, who completely changed genres and stuck with it, right? She did kind of a 2 album lead in to her pop album and then went pop, and the rest is history. Has there ever been a band that kind of flirted with this, that didn't come back to their original sound,
Bon Jovi.
that completely was successful?
Bon Jovi.
There have
Bon
been a few.
Jovi.
Alice
Bon
in Chains.
Jovi was like Bon Jovi and
Maybe
Def
the Bee
Leppard
Gees?
were like the king of hair metal. Bon Jovi, arguably the biggest, most successful, greatest rock album of all time. Slippery When Wet, You Give Love a Bad Name, Wanted Dead or Alive, Living on a Prayer, you name it. That whole fucking album was like #1 hits. After New Jersey, it seems, in my opinion, when he wrote Blaze of Glory for Young Guns 2, as great of a song that was, he did the whole soundtrack that way, so it was all country flavored. That poisoned him. And from then on, it was radio friendly, folksy, country, and he kept getting #1 hits with the shit. And he started coming out. He cut his hair off. He was mocking how he used to look in the 80s. He was talking about how that music had no substance. He completely turned his back on his entire fan base and has never looked back except for one song. And it was massive and satisfied the fans. And that's It's My Life, because it was basically Living on a Prayer Part 2.
Yeah.
Other than that, people go to Bon Jovi. It's a running joke. They go to Bon Jovi concerts over the last 20 years and they show up late because they know the good songs aren't going to be played till the last, half of last quarter of the set, because they're not fans of what he does, but he's got enough people caring about it on the radio and putting money in his bank account that he don't care where he came from. But
No,
it's rare. It is fucking rare, because Aerosmith tried that shit. They had a couple of big radio hits for movies. Coincidentally, they started playing that game too. But Aerosmith fans will not. The Aerosmith fans will not own that fucking, that generation of Aerosmith.
Did you mention the Bee Gees, JBake?
JBake?
I did. I just kind of came to mind. Thought it would be easier for my
example
small brain to think in the 70s, because it was such an
Rob and I
obvious
discussed
game.
this on our backtracks when we played them, that obviously they got sort of led to disco because they were asked to do some music for the Saturday Night Fever soundtrack, but by the time that disco era had ended, no one was interested in them. They couldn't sell music for the life of them. They turned into songwriters for other people. And it probably took, 7 or 8 years for people to forgive them for the disco stuff.
But they did. When you're big enough,
eventually, yeah.
When you're big enough, that can happen. Clay Adkins, Bon Jovi succeeded despite not being good for the last 25 years. Yeah, and that's the general consensus. That's the best, and Aerosmith would be #2 because Aerosmith did continue success because of the radio play. But if Aerosmith were to pull that today, when the radio is not a thing anymore, really, I don't think they would have continued with success.
However, all these examples are, well, no, not Bee Gees, but most of the other examples you brought up are bands that had already now at that point become hugely successful.
Exactly my point.
As opposed to like
that's
Bee Gees,
my concern with the warning, because regardless of how many Patreon people are on here watching, and believe me, they are, they can't help themselves. As much as you may think I'm the world's most anti-warning person, I love this band. And that is my greatest fear, because unlike a good majority of the warning army, I'm honest, and I understand the warning is not the mega power you think they are. I'm saying they should be. I'm saying it's criminal that they're not. I'm saying musically, vocally, songwriting chops, performance-wise, they absolutely should be up there with the biggest names in music. But they're not. So when you abandon what built you, we may be old geezers, old perverts in the audience, whatever you want to call us. The warning wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for people in my age range and older. So to turn your back on your base, to chase flavor of the month fans. And that's a hell of a roll of the dice, especially given it doesn't take a rocket scientist to understand that Gen Z, just say what you will about them. I'm not saying they're bad people. I'm saying they've got so much going on with 800 TV channels to our 5, with Sirius, with Spotify, with Amazon, with Apple Music. They've got so many options that you had better hit them with a new song every day to get them hooked. How people like Taylor Swift or Katy Perry manage to grab on and hold on is impressive in itself when there's so much competition and it's all about who the TV shows like America's Got Talent and all this stuff and your whatever media outlets want to push. It's really not even about if the artist is good enough anymore. It's just about, can we make money off you quickly and keep making money off you? So the warning, I just think it's a mistake to change styles now. Give it another, before Keep Me Fed, they should have come out with Error Part 2. You get a stronghold on that metal community first.
Okay. So I do want to say, I honestly think all of the songs on Keep Me Fed, I actually really like. It's the production that makes it sound the way it does.
Even Apologize?
Even Apologize is my favorite song.
Oh,
period.
my.
Of all bands, it's my absolute favorite song.
Oh, look at the time.
It's okay, Rob. Do your breathing exercises like we talked about.
I also wanted to say, if anyone here, like, do you guys remember Andrew Dice Clay?
Yes.
He was a stand-up comedian. There was a character Clint Eastwood played one time where someone said, "Oh, why do you hate whatever race?" And he's like, "I don't. I hate everybody equally." Rob hates everybody equally. It's okay. It's all very fair.
Hey, to anybody who doesn't understand, tune into any episode we do Kiss. You'll hear me say the same shit about my favorite band since I'm 5.
Yeah, it's all good, man. But yeah, Apologize is in my opinion brilliant, and it was written by Pau when she was young. The only thing she couldn't figure out is a way to get into the chorus the way she wanted to, and it never worked properly. So they revisited it as adults. They worked with a co-writer. They ended up taking the ideas themselves and using them and making the song. And I think it's absolutely fantastic. It has a freaking like lead bass line in the second bridge. It has like dynamics and excitement. It has different genres. It's got piano. It has a soft, gentle ending. It has incredible vocals by Danny. It has really cool guitar playing and drum playing. I just think it's a fantastic song. But what I don't like about it is, the production. If he's going to do all these really cool sounds on the toms and the bass and the guitars and whatever, even if he wants to use the affected vocals, he does a lot of technical mistakes. And I'm going to do something about this in my channel where like I describe and show engineering failures in music and how parallel compression works and stuff like this. Because I don't think he actually knows. I don't think that their producer actually knows how to do advanced engineering properly. Engineering isn't an art, it's a science. And there are ways to do things so that the levels of the instruments come through and the dynamics are retained. And he fails at doing that. I like the sound of it, but I have a hard time listening to the studio album overall now. I used to enjoy it more than I do now. But I like the songs on Keep Me Fed on the live album, which I don't have in front of me, but I bought it when I was on Vancouver Island recently. I bought a copy of it. And the live album from the Keep Me Fed tour, what was it called? The Live at Auditorio Nacional. That sounds incredible. And that's what I want to hear the Keep Me Fed songs sound like. The live versions sound awesome. But so I don't think that they went in a bad direction. I think that there are two flaws with Keep Me Fed. The production, which I don't dislike in general, but I don't think suits the album and doesn't suit rock. It makes it hard to get the excitement out of it. And the fact that they had to use co-writers because they were rushed so fast that they're writing this on a freaking tour. So I'm really hoping that regardless of their new little movie snippet song, I hope that the direction they're going with sounds good, despite the fact that they're still working with Anton DeLost. And I mean, he's more successful than me. More power to him, man. He's a great producer. He's doing great things. But I hope that their music can succeed and push through because they are still doing rock. Alejandra and Pau both have said that they like to do funk rock. Cool. I love funk rock, man. That's great. It's still great music if it's done right. Danny's an incredible vocalist. Pow's a great vocalist. She didn't even sing lead really on this whole album because they were so
Paul
rushed.
was
There's no like,
amazing. Paul
you know,
was, but in fact, in the early days, when I was doing Victory Cast, I would only react to what would be recommended because I didn't want to spoil anything.
right.
I like my reactions to be true reactions. Otherwise, it's just a review.
Yeah.
I had a hard time deciphering who sang what
Oh yeah.
because her and Danny had such similar voices, both powerful voice. I can't say enough good things about The Warning.
Yeah.
I just have to bring out my concerns, and my concerns are it could be a mistake. Maybe I'll be proven wrong. I hope I'm not proven wrong because I desperately want to go back to the error. But JBake, you've been quiet for a while.
No, I mean, I agree with it. I'm kind of like, I've probably not been the biggest supporter of Keep Me Fed, mainly because of the production on the album. I started turning around on a lot of the Keep Me Fed songs when I was able to finally hear the subtleties that were really good and the improvements that were really good. I think Ali's bass work on Keep Me Fed is outstanding. I think there's some really subtle drum stuff that Pow's doing that's changed her technique that I really like. I think Danny's voice is stronger in the Keep Me Fed, right? Continues to get stronger. It sounds like she's done work on that. All very good things. The songs are much better live because it's not filtered audio and oversampled and just garbageness, right? Like I never reached for the Keep Me Fed album, but the Keep Me Fed live is okay. I'm with Don. I think that I'm hoping, even though this album's probably going to have the DeLost effect on it, I'm hoping that by taking 6 months with the idea that we're going to focus on the album and focus on the writing, kind of old school Warning, how they created their art, and going into it more with probably a better idea of what they needed, what they wanted, might help both them and DeLost produce maybe a little bit more of an album that we're in the sound that we're used to while still growing whatever they want. I'm hopeful with it. But we'll just have to see. I do like the fact that I think a big part of the Keep Me Fed issue for me was the feeling that it felt like an overdue book report, right? Like they worked their ass off all year. They're touring everywhere. And then they woke up and discovered it was November and they're exhausted and the label is writing them to get an album out because they've been touring on air for 2.5 years, right? They've got to get some music out.
Do they have a timetable to get this new album out, or can they take their time?
They can take their time from what I understand, but from what Rudy said on a later call, they're finishing up the recording process now on it, and I guess it goes into production and mastering, sampling on it, and that seems to kind of correlate with what they're doing. And like I was mentioning before, if you look at what they've announced so far for their touring, it appears that they're going to try maybe a different type of ramp up into this new album, which I would expect around June probably. But they're doing all festivals and opening for young, almost, up to like June area. We've also seen some unsubstantiated stuff where they might be opening up for Youngblood in the U.S. It was released art that was never, people don't know, but I would not be surprised if they're not going to go ahead and come over with Youngblood when he comes to the U.S. and later in the year. But they're doing all big time festivals and they're on bigger stages. And I think that's actually kind of a good thing, right? I think part of the problem with The Warning is they seem to really be on the hook for a lot of costs when it comes to their touring. And if you look, the top 3 ways bands still make money today, which seems kind of counterproductive, is touring, it's merch sales, and it's sync rights. It's getting your stuff into movies. It's not streaming services, and that's where I think the Gen Z generation and maybe even some of the music executives are putting that in. That's just an indicator of popularity. But for
There's just
actual
no money
cash
in it.
bank, there's not shit with it unless you're doing it. So I think that's kind of why maybe the Gen Xers or old ass people like us are like, yeah, well, let's look at who's spending the money on the vinyls, who's spending the money at the merch stands, who's spending the money going and traveling to concerts. And, I think that's kind of feeding that. It's good to have a young fan base. But to be honest with you, the economy is pretty tough. How many of these 20-somethings have expendable cash to be doing a lot of this stuff? It would be really
not many of us have that kind of expendable. I mean, the economy is. I mean, obviously, it's supposed to be doing better, but what happens every time you have, whether it's inflation or gas prices go up overseas, whatever, oil prices. The prices go up to compensate, but what happens? They never come back down. No matter how much they say the economy's corrected, it's up, this, that, and the other, the people selling the products don't bring it down. The concert venues don't bring the ticket prices back down. The vinyl plants don't bring their prices back down to have pressings made. So it's tough for even us, let alone Gen Z, who is having a hard time even finding work out of college.
Yeah. And you bring up the venues, right? The venues have raised their VIGs, what they're charging. They're now taking a substantial piece of the merch sales.
Yeah, they're taking a cut of the merch, and that's where most of the money came from.
Absolutely. So for a band like the Warning Decay, you got to remember they're carrying like a crew of like 20 people. They've got to pay those salaries. They got to feed them. They've got to do all this. When you're selling 1,200 seat arenas and trying to keep your costs down for your fans, right? You're on a shoestring budget. And I think what their feeling seems to be, I have no clue, right? But it would make sense to be like, let's hit the festivals and really get on big stages, get as many people in front of us as possible. We've got a full show to hit, and we're not on our dime, right? We're just bringing our shit, but the sound and everything else is set up, and we just do our thing. And we can travel, get the word out, but it's not on our dime. Kind of makes sense, and it might be a good thing. But they're in some really great areas. They're going to start in Chile and Argentina and Paraguay and Colombia and Brazil, come back up through Mexico, and then they go over to the UK to do their gig with Youngblood, and then they're coming back over here for Rockville, back into Madrid and Portugal, right, is what's announced now. So it makes a lot of sense, and I'm hoping that this gets the word out. I think what also Keep Me Fed, especially in the U.S., North American eyes, was we didn't see them for 9 or 10 months, right, locally. They announced that they were in Europe, but we didn't see them, and I think that impacted like our feelings toward it maybe. So I'm hopeful that this is a new kind of recipe, good for them. That's my take on it. What do you think, Dave?
Well, I'm going to let Dave chime in here real quick, but somebody asked if we all have our own channels. They know Donnie Boy. No, Don Music does. Me and Dave are here on Tunes Brothers, and JBake is just a friend of the show with a tremendous amount of music industry and warning knowledge. I was lucky enough to have the All-Star cast on tonight. Let's see. Jesus, I don't want to mispronounce that. Amaran. I can't do it. He just spent 280 New Zealand on the warning merch, money I don't actually have, and half of that cost was postage. Tell me about it. I sent Dave his autographed warning album, and it cost me $80 in shipping. Everything.
You could have brought it over yourself.
Yeah, I mean everything costs. So, Dave, what's your take on everything? You've been quiet for a while.
Yeah, I was just listening to you guys. Like I said, JBake was saying about the warning not touring America hurt them. I haven't been here at all, mate. So,
Yeah, how do you not go to, like, everybody goes to Australia, right? That's a big deal.
Technically, they do. They don't always come to Adelaide, where I live, but they certainly come to Australia. I'm hoping they do.
But again, to JBake's point, they got to pay. I mean, the warning's not making AC/DC money per show.
No.
I mean, and they got to pay their crew. I mean, it helps. I'm sure that a lot of that crew is family, so I'm sure it's on a, downgraded pay scale, but you got to pay the venue. You got to pay travel expenses. You got to pay hotels. I mean, I don't know how that works anymore. If hotels say, hey, you're going to bring us a lot of business, so we'll foot the bill. I don't think so. I don't think it works that way anymore.
Also, because we still get, some of the older acts come over here that only are selling out 1,000 seats and stuff, and they're doing tours around Australia. So, it's not impossible, but I understand, as you said, everyone's looking where do I get money from, except for me. What else were we talking about?
Pretty much anything the warning that's on your mind, because people got me worked up, but it wasn't about the warning, surprisingly.
Well, it doesn't usually start that way.
Let me share my screen, my other screen. How the frick do I had
It'll not be that porn you showed me earlier.
No, I changed that to better porn. Yeah, that was actually, that porn was actually this. So this is the person by name, Danielle Nicole Rubio, who is credited as co-writer for this movie song that we started chatting about at the beginning, the 50-second.
Oh, so the warning didn't even get to write this thing. They just had to sing it.
Well, they're credited as songwriters, but so is she.
Okay.
I don't know anything about her.
And it might be a fine song. It's just not for me. Like I said right away, I heard Nickelodeon. So
yeah, I don't know if I can
You should be able to include sound on the bottom. There should be a
no, I'm not using Chrome, but it's okay. It's R&B crap.
Okay.
I mean, no offense to R&B artists, but stop playing. Thank you. There she is.
That's a nice pause. I told you it was porn.
We'll just leave that like that. Yeah, I told you. That's why you thought I was looking at porn.
Yeah.
No,
I showed me. I thought, what's going on here?
That's on my phone.
Okay, so this is the co-writer.
Yeah, so that's the co-writer. Yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting.
Before we go further into the warning, because I want to, I thought I'd lighten the mood a little bit, because I got a real bad rap, especially on Patreon, for saying Pau needs to stay behind the drum kit. After somebody had showed me her dance routine as a lead singer. So I just, in the spirit of fairness, I'm going to go ahead and admit that, there's something I didn't take into consideration here. So here's the performance. Okay, so that, especially that last part, just made me cringe, right? But I did not know. I did a deep dive, and I found out that she was simply emulating her hero that she learned to dance from. And if I'd have known that, it would have had a little bit more. I don't know what the word is. It would have made a little more sense. But
you always wonder where this is going.
Here's where she got her dance moves.
Hey guys, I want to make a toast. Oh. Here's to those who wish us well, and those who don't can go to hell. All right, who's dancing? Come on, who's dancing? You want me to get it started? I'll get it started.
This is awesome, Rob.
Okay, so
I actually just saw that episode the other night.
okay,
that was good.
All right. Then you have to understand, you Patreonites, right? Is that what they're called? Patreonies. I have fun. And if I don't like something, I exaggerate the hell out of it. Mostly because I think it's funny. But the added bonus is it pisses a lot of people off.
I at least thought you would like that because she was wearing platforms, just like Kiss.
She has to.
So
She has to, yeah. You know what? God forbid she be a lead singer. And believe me, she's got the pipes to do it.
Like I said recently,
but
she's
hear me out here.
She's 5 feet tall when she stretches her toes out.
Yeah, I went to the Scorpions in the 80s, the tour where they had the whole light rig above was the Flying V guitar. And I was on the floor, right? And I'm all of 5, well, I'm 5'9" now. I've shrunk, but I was 5'10" then. I, for the entire hour and a half, couldn't fucking see Klaus at all. Couldn't see it because if anybody was like 2 inches taller than me, they were blocking what little bit of him showed on the stage. So yeah, Paul would have had to wear platforms there. But yes, great band, great talented band. I don't agree with half of the album, but somebody did make the point on here that it was a rock album that was produced pop or something to that extent, and I agree with that. I agree that the songs I didn't necessarily care for, I probably would have liked if they were rock. Like I said, Hell You Call a Dream, More, Automatic Sun, and Consume to me are so good that they overcome the production poppy, obviously when you hear them live, they're way better. That's Warning's claim to fame, which is something not many bands can say. Trust me, as someone who's frequented concerts for the better part of 40 years, a lot of these bands do not sound well live. Whether it's lack of rehearsal, whether it's shitty, house equipment, whatever the case may be. The fact that I was so blown away at that show in Minnesota, and believe me, as someone who did a breakdown to prove to some of these TWAs that they do indeed use backtracks, which I have no problem with. None whatsoever. So long as the microphones are live and they're singing along to something, and so long as the instruments are being played, hey, if you can fill the sound out, more power to you, because there's nothing worse. My advice to any musician is if you don't want to use backtracks, but you want to pipe in like gang vocals on choruses or choirs here and there and stuff, don't do it unless you're prepared to do it live with backtracks, because otherwise the song's going to end up sounding empty and like shit in comparison. I was watching every move, every movement of the mouth on the microphone from Danny. I was watching everything from these girls. They fucking killed it. You could see Pau look like she was about ready to just pass out. She was so sick. And she was still bringing it. Not with the energy she would have, but she was doing it. They hid nothing. Danny announced to the crowd before one of the songs where Pau's got the big scream, I always forget the name of it, that the audience needed to help her out because she was sick. And turns out the audience really didn't need to help her out because she still fucking nailed it. This band is immensely talented. It irritates me to see them go poppy because I like 80s pop, 70s pop. I do not like 90s to through 2000s overproduced sound effecty pop. And that's what it reminded me of. All of my hope is that these girls, I don't know how much power, maybe you have a little more insight. It's always been my understanding through articles and interviews over the years, Don, the producer, what he says fucking goes. You can flat out fire him, but then you're dead in the water until you find another producer, set up more recording dates, everything. Because all this studio time, which is at the time in the 70s and 80s, hundreds of dollars per fucking minute. I'm sure it's thousands of dollars now. So you pretty much are at the producer's mercy. So they could tell DeLoss, no, we want to rock this out. No, take that vocal effect off. But if he don't agree, you kind of got a stalemate, right?
If they're working for you, they are still, it's like hiring a manager. and or hiring an artistic director. If you don't do it, then they're just going to walk. You don't have to do what they say, but they're going to walk, right? So you got to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But the engineer has to implement it properly. And in the case
Right,
of
but the engineer answers to the producer.
well, so in the old days, the producer was someone else. Well, I recorded an album. I didn't record. I was a member of a band that recorded an album back in, something that had it was recorded in a studio that had a house engineer who was fantastic. We had a tracking engineer who was fantastic. And we wanted, but we didn't have to, we wanted a producer. We didn't trust ourselves to self-produce at that point. And we brought in a producer, and he looked like the frickin' guy from the band The Cars. The hair and
Rick,
Kasich. Yeah, he looked just like him. It was hilarious. And he didn't know our genre, but he tried his best, and we liked the sound he got. But I mean, I went in there and I was like at that point, like a hard rock sort of funk bass player, guitar player, singer, and writing songs in that style. And he was really commercial and successful at doing commercial stuff. So he was trying to produce our stuff. He talked to us, he tried to convince us of things. And then when it came time to implement, he never touched the board. He told the engineer, this is the example of what I want. This is what I want them to do. He would sing he'd grab a guitar, say something like this. The engineer would try to implement it. And he worked with the engineer and with us to implement it. And the engineer was fantastic. He knew the technology of how to make things work out, even if the people speaking to him didn't. And that's the engineer's job. So the producer was the guy that would rein us in and try to come up with something that might sell. And so that was effective. I didn't enjoy the experience, but it was effective because I wanted it to be what I wanted, right? Right. I was an artist, right? So I get it.
So more music says, go ahead.
That's the problem. Anton DeLost is doing both roles. And
okay, well, JBake noticed this comment from More Music, and I was going to say something too. He says, I don't think this is the case of Anton or someone telling them against their will this is how it's going to sound. I think they've gradually been convinced over time that this is what sounds good. And I can see that being inexperienced to an extent. And I think, unlike if you look, just some examples, right? Garth Brooks, his massive influence was Kiss. And this happened, Anthrax, massive, influence was Kiss. But never in the studio was Ian Scott or Garth Brooks saying, no, make this sound like Kiss. I can believe that the warning, because somebody else posted, it doesn't help that they don't listen to rock anymore. They are so goo-goo over their heroes that I can see them desperately wanting to emulate them. And that's a huge mistake. And I don't have to like the bands, Muse, whoever they like. The point is, no matter who influenced our heroes, they never let that get in the way of being themselves. When they decided to chase a trend, they were already huge, starting to fade, so they wanted to become relevant again. They weren't saying, Kiss being big Beatles and ACD or Led Zeppelin fans, they weren't saying, oh, I want to sound like this band. They did what their sound was, what worked for them, what they love to do. I hope that's not what's going on with The Warning, and I hope they're not trying to emulate their heroes, because if that's the case, their heroes may be good, but what they have as The Warning is just amazing. Especially if you think of the ages. I mean, I still listen to 21st Century Blood, and it does not sound like a bunch of teenagers. They're so damn good and have such a natural rock sound. Why anybody would want to change who you are? You can listen to your favorite bands. Doesn't mean you have to be your favorite bands. Be yourself.
Yeah. That's why I liked about Jake Carbonara. I can't remember his name. I'm sorry. Jake, the producer and engineer back in the early couple albums. He did everything he could, from what I can tell, to give them the freedom and the guidance to get the sound that they wanted to do, and try to keep it raw, and didn't try to influence the sound, but also just said, look, this is you, this isn't someone else. And it's clear that the label is like saying, I don't think the label guides them, but I think the label isn't discouraging them or encouraging them in any ways that's particularly good for them. You know,
Honestly, I don't think the label really, at least it never used to. The label didn't care so long as you made them money.
yeah.
So they didn't care. I mean, it's depicted in, I always go back to Eddie and the Cruisers, the 2 movies, which I think are just phenomenal for anybody who wants to know how the music industry works and how a real band works. You need, I know it's Hollywood, but it's as close as you're going to get to legitimate.
Yeah.
The label depicted in that at the end of the first one came in and said, everything you just worked on is garbage. That can happen but that's once the finished product is out and they know it's not what sold your first album. But at the end of the day, it's always been the producer and the songwriters that matter. I get your point. The engineer is the one that brings the sound all together, and the level of knowledge and the ear they have for music is absolutely otherworldly. But at the end of the day, it's always been, whether it's Bob Ezrin or Bob Rock or Mutt Lang or whoever, it's that producer will say, what's your vision, and help you try to bring that vision together. But if it's lacking in any way, shape, or form, he will reshape it. He or she, I guess I've never known of a legendary female producer. I'm sure there's one out there. So, and that's what irritated me early on in the Victory Cast days, when I'd say I didn't like something, whether it was sick or whatever, and I'd say, well, they're kind of being forced down a different path. Oh, no, they have total creative control. That made me roll my eyes, because that doesn't exist in the music industry. You can say that on paper, but when you get into the recording sessions, again, I go back to time booked, schedules cleared. Someone's going to bend. Not every producer is going to say, yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. They're going to say, no, that's wrong. And you're only this person. I produced X, Y, and Z. I know more than you. And then you're going to clash. And maybe you can compromise, maybe you can't. But at the end of the day, there is no such thing as 100% creative control unless you are the songwriter, you are the producer, you are the engineer in your own home studio, and you are the vinyl plant doing the pressing. So it's all 110% your cost. That's the only way there will ever be 100% creative control.
Well, let me ask a question to you and Dave. You guys have been producing a lot of your own type of music, right? Even though it's AI music, you're getting more involved with the engineering and the producing side of things. Has that impacted your thoughts or feelings on KMF in particular? Because, it's always been kind of a strong conversation about the production of that thing. Have you now started noticing things that you didn't maybe notice before? Or has it changed your
Has it changed my opinion on KMF? No.
Well, just your thought process on it. Did anything kind of start resonating?
Yeah. And not just Keep Me Fed. I don't want to just crap on that, because those are some great songs on there. What it has made me do is be very quick to say, where I normally would have said that sounds cool, I now hear crap I'm hearing on the radio that they're putting in it, and I'll say absolutely not. Here's a big one. If you want to produce, at least with the program I'm working with, and even I tried that UDI, which their partnership with BMG means nothing. So far, at least, copyright stuff still struck down. If I want, say, an AC/DC-esque drum intro, simple rock song, and just a simple beat, they 99% of the time will throw claps in. Right? There is nothing rock. You ask my wife, I get so goddamn mad, and I'll spend an hour trying to get that shit out of there, trying to rewrite the algorithm and everything I have to do. I'll put cowbell in big bold letters and do everything I can to try to replace it. That is their go-to for a 80s glam metal arena rock sound. Doom, people are clapping. I'm thinking, there's no band I would ever listen to that would have claps in their music. Just wouldn't happen. So things like that, I'll hear modern nuances from poppier music being shuffled in, even though I'm writing a metal song, and it will drive me nuts. So yeah, it definitely isn't going to convert me to that stuff. It just makes it more annoying for me. Like, and every fifth song, they'll try to do a verse here or there with that stupid megaphone voice that so many bands do. I absolutely hate that shit. It is so hard with AI. I always say, if people are worried about AI taking over the world, stop worrying. Work with AI for about an hour, unless there's stuff on the horizon that is worlds beyond what we have access to. I can't tell you how many times I've wanted a logo designed in about 4 different AI sites, and they misspell the word every fucking time. I'm putting it in letter for letter, and it still comes out misspelled. People will come out with a 6th finger. I mean, AI is not all that they'll have you believe it is, at least not right now. But as far as engineering, I wouldn't even call it engineering. I did more engineering when I used my 4-track and my own drum machine, keyboards, bass guitar, and my electric guitar and singing. Then I engineered and did everything myself. But like Don Music pointed out early on in this, and even in his video today, stems are not tracks. And that's all you can get out of these AI programs. If you want, if it's so-called, I'm going to isolate this. Not really. You're isolating the extent of AI's ability to isolate. If you go in and get the masters for a guitar, you are going to be, like he even alluded to today, vocals and guitars are so overlaid with extra to beef it up. They'll put like 3 or 4 layers on it sometimes. You're not getting them individual layers. You're getting the collective sum of what it can decipher is different than the drums and there are so many times where I try to pull a stem out of a song and there'll still be a hint of a keyboard in it, even though it's the guitar track, because AI is just not that good.
Are you talking about with the AI music itself or just normal music?
Just my normal music. If I try to, because a lot of my songs that I have done on AI, and I'm especially proud of mine because some of them have actually my actual recorded guitar riffs from years ago.
The problem with the way AI actually makes those songs is it doesn't generate separate stems anyway. So it's not just generating a guitar track and a keyboard track.
Right.
It is all generated at the same time. So when you try and separate it, you've got elements of vocal in there, and you can hear there's some artifacting. And if you try and use that one stem by itself, you can hear there's things missing because a bit of that is on the other stem. And JBake was asking what you were talking about too. Yeah, AI is it's incredibly smart, and I think we will get to that point where it's that good.
But not access to the public.
We're not there yet, and I don't think it's ever going to replace humans. I think the goal is that humans will work with it, and because one of the things I like to do is a bit like Rob. I put in my own keyboard parts to try and get a melody going and then work a song. It's my lyrics that I put in as well. So, and it can be the most frustrating thing in the world because, what you're imagining at times is not what's coming out. And it does sound too modern at times, even as Rob said, when you try to do, some 80s stuff. It's got these modern elements in it that destroy it. But so I can only imagine what it's like to do it in real life with a band, dealing with 4 or 5 different people who've all got different ideas and different visions of what should happen.
And then and that's, forget about the producer. And I know they're sisters, and that's great. Don't kid yourself. Anybody who's got siblings out there, just because you're blood doesn't mean, if anything, you might argue more. And you might be more free in doing it because as that sibling you've grown up with, in fact, I think I've heard the Warning talk about it. you are more free to criticize each other than you would be some just bandmate that you have to worry about offending or whatever. You said a couple of things on here. Wish I thought of doing what were you talking about there, Don Music?
Talking about the channel Wings of Pegasus, Phil.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, his analysis of vocals to find out what's live and isn't. I can do that, and I wish I thought of it. He's doing it so well. Brilliant stuff.
I watched him a few times. He's extremely interesting, but at the same time, extremely boring to someone, a layman like me. I'm like, I don't know what you're saying. Shut up. You say Allie mixed the album. We're talking about Keep Me Fed. Don?
What was it about? Where is that? Oh, AI. No, I was talking about AI overlords. Dave is being really polite about the AI overlords. He doesn't want to get fucked.
I know they're watching.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. AI is incredibly smart. I'm just saying it's far from perfect. And the stuff that may be perfect or will be perfect, I highly doubt will be accessible to idiots like me and Dave. It will probably, be the upper elites who control the world.
That's my goal.
The day AI, because there was actually, believe it or not, my mom works at Walmart, has for almost 30 years. And somebody was there, basically some new, stupid young store manager telling, chewing everybody out, basically saying AI will replace all of your jobs. So, like, really? Seem to remember about 3 years ago having something come up behind me. It was
Yeah, your voice is disappearing there, Rob.
Oh, anyway, it was an automatic floor cleaner coming up behind me in an aisle.
I thought Rob was AI for a sec.
And it was beeping and shit, and I'd stop and it would stop. And I'm thinking, you think something like this is going to stock shelves, pull carts around, and do you really think you can afford to do that? You know how many they would have? One robot to do a human task is going to be what, $1 billion? And now you put 300 of those in one superstore, and we got 2 superstores just in our podunk little town throughout the country and the world. Get the fuck out of here. Ain't no AI gonna, do your drive-through, flip the burgers and everything else. They may have something there that's putting the ketchup on the burger or something. But
hey, man, didn't you hear what Elon said?
I think humans are going to cease to exist in the workforce is beyond laughable. I want to see robots climb ladders and shingle my roof.
I'm looking forward to 25 years from now. There not being any more currency or jobs. It'll all be taken care of. We can sit back and relax and watch
God
TV.
willing, I'll be dead and I won't care. All right. Ann and Nancy Wilson feel what? Oh, that's why Nancy and Ann Wilson fell apart. I'm sure difference opinion. I mean, it's no different in any band. I mean, that might happen eventually with these girls, family or not. I mean, we've seen some of the closest bands not even speak for decades. I mean, the Eagles, Kiss. I mean, the list is endless. The bitterness, the ego, all of that can come into play at any time. There are plenty of brothers who did not get along. The Bee Gees. I mean, since they were brought up. I think even someone as close to Simon and Garfunkel was one of the most vicious splits ever. Not that they were brothers, but I'm just saying it happens. Can you play Danny's cover of Black Sabbath, Sweet Leaf? I never heard it. No, I don't want to play anything on here because I get enough non-monetized videos. It's bad enough I put Elaine on here. I'll probably get demonetized for that, but it was too funny to resist. Just because I know some of these Patreon people were watching and they were the ones that were mad that I made fun of house dancing. So I just had to, I have to turn the knife a little bit. All right, JBake, you've been quiet now for a while.
No, man, I'm just learning. I know nothing about anything really, but I find the engineering stuff kind of interesting. It's an interesting take, right? And I think that it'll be interesting to see what they choose to share with us on this next album, right? At the end of the day, man, it's not our circus. It's not our monkey. They're going to make decisions. They're going to allow stuff to go out. And we also have to realize that what we see is what they want us to see, right? So we have to take everything kind of with a grain of salt. I mean, it's like they've got a million things going on. They're choosing to share 10. We may or may not like it, but they're kind of asking us for our opinions. So that's just the way I take it. But this has been an awesome conversation, a lot of fun. I think I think it's good to kind of talk these things out, because I think it makes, when people are disagreeing or they have very visceral reactions to things, I think it's good to hear people kind of explain their side of the story and more of this kind of concept, because like, you're only half the bastard that people think you are, Rob. I think that's the
Hey, God damn it, I am 90% the best. Don't ruin my reputation. You're muted, Dave.
I was going to say, watch Backtracks and see how much of a soft side he's got.
Yeah,
It's true. You're a sweetheart, Rob.
yeah, right. All right. Hold on. Danny Leo OGT. Rob, I have to correct you though. The band have had 100% artistic freedom for 20 years. Inaugural. What? Inaugural. They don't advertise and get very little radio play. Just say. Are we talking about the warning?
I think so.
Okay. Well, yeah, artistic freedom and creative control are two different things, though, right? And we can have that argument because none of us are there actually in the studio. None of us are there in meetings with the record execs. And again, a paper contract can sound one way, and there could be 4 lines on page 575 that negate certain things. So I have no doubt the girls are doing what they want to do. I just question.
He's talking about Tool.
Oh, Tool. Okay. Well, I guess I wouldn't know nothing about Tool. I don't even know, are they still touring? I know they were big in the 90s. Whatever. Anyway, fabulous band. Thank you two for being on, and Dave.
Thank you, man.
Anybody have any questions for the special guests before we go? Anyone at all? JBake would also like me to point out that he has a very voluptuous ass. That was part of the stipulation earlier to having him on, that I had to mention that.
Well, that's why I joined.
I'm doing a 3D model of it as we speak.
Nice. You're going to share that with me, right?
Yeah. And this one's been printed in the flexible plastic too, so you can squeeze it.
I would like to announce that Bacon Renhart has joined the chat, so he's coming in a little late, but he's probably going to come in a little hot.
Yeah, he came in late the other day too. He's really slacking.
He's not getting notifications from YouTube.
Well, you're not looking at it. Oh, sorry.
Scotty Miller, I figured out JBake. He is a smuggler of sheep. Okay, thank you. So now it's going to thank you for showing up. Don says Lauren James. Yeah, everybody loves the stuff that you brought. JBake's elastomer 3D printed buttocks from Matt Dubai.
Yeah, be in the Tunes Brothers shop some stage.
Yeah, it's going to be like all 4 of you guys that Darren's printing out, and just like an ass, a huge ass.
Man,
More music, you are absolutely incorrect. JBake told us that Rob admitted to him in private that Apologize is a top tier song that nothing beats.
All I'm saying was, I was at the concert with you when they started playing it, and I heard a scream like a 10-year-old girl. I looked back, and your mouth was open. That's all I'm going to say about it.
Oh, God. All right. Well, thank you. So everybody get over to Don Music's channel and check out his breakdown of the warning snippet and all his many other videos. And don't you also have a channel where you do interviews as such?
Yeah, although I'm moving more and more of that to my own, actually. I'm going to be doing an interview with the recording engineer, the studio recording engineer in Kelowna, who did Freeze the Falls, most recent EP.
Yes, I was just going to say.
Yeah,
because for those of you who watched me,
their first stuff too.
Might have.
Has that been the same for the entire time?
I don't know, because I was chatting with him, but he's in Disneyland, so he was a little distracted.
Okay,
I'll find
there we
soon.
go. More music putting in big caps, Freeze the Fall. I was going to say, any of you who watch me from Victory Cast, you know that I had some really nice treatment from Freeze the Fall. They gave me invites to early views and everything, and they are a very, very cool up and coming band. And JBake has an amazing hour-long bass play along with the bass player in a music store with Freeze the Fall. That is fascinating. He said all kinds of things in terms that were way over my pay grade.
Are you talking Don Music? Because I don't know how to play the bass. And
I'm sorry, not JBake. Don Music. Yeah, Don Music. Yeah, yeah. Sorry.
It's like,
you know what I
I
meant.
didn't know, man.
Yeah, you know what I meant. Yeah, Donnie Boy did an amazing sit down and play along. And if you want to know all about things that I don't know about, and most people who don't play an instrument professionally, watch it. It's fascinating stuff, even though I didn't understand half of it. And JBake, always say hi to him. You'll see him at any Warning show. Buy him a beer. He's a fabulous, fabulous gent. And I look forward to hanging out with him soon. So hopefully the Warning comes back in the area somewhere next year. So
absolutely. We'll get to hear the new album, hopefully. And hopefully everybody will take something they like from it. That's the great part about music is it means something different to every single person that hears it, and you can kind of take it where you want to take it.
And me and Dave will be here tomorrow night for the show that apparently bores all but a consistent 176. Did you notice that yesterday? The last 2 episodes had the same amount of views, which is pathetically small compared to the almost 500 views the first one got. That was the one where everybody tuned in excited and realized that we're boring. And
listen to our old man music.
We'll have another backtrack tomorrow night. This will feature duets. So, anyway, until then, we have something going on. I think a viewer battle on Tuesday. Yeah, and
Alice
I think
Cooper,
you decided
Constrictor versus Cinderella Night whatever it's called.
Yeah, Night Songs. Okay, so there you go. Until next time, everybody. Thanks for watching.